The most productive people in the world don't grind harder than you. They don't depend on endless discipline. They don't wake up at 4 a.m. just to squeeze in a few more hours. The secret's way simpler. They trick their brains into becoming kind of superhuman. And here's the crazy part. Once you start using these hacks, it almost feels like you're cheating. Imagine flying through tasks that normally drag on for hours. Imagine focusing so deeply it feels like time disappears, and still finishing your day with energy left over instead of drained. And this isn't just about being efficient. It's about freeing yourself up for what matters most. Your business, your career, your life outside of work. Today I'm breaking down the top 10 brain hacks for productivity that are so powerful they almost feel illegal. And stick with me, because at the end I'll give you a bonus hack that could completely change how you wake up tomorrow. This is Mr. Career Coach. Let's jump in. Hash 10. The 2-minute rule that melts procrastination. Procrastination isn't laziness, it's inertia. The hardest part is always getting started. That's where the 2-minute rule comes in. If a task takes less than 2 minutes, do it right away. And if it's bigger, shrink it down to a 2-minute version. Write the first sentence, open the file, draft the subject line. Here's why it works. Your brain has something called activation energy. Once you push past that start line, dopamine kicks in and momentum takes over. Think about it. Ever told yourself you just put on your running shoes and suddenly you're halfway through a workout? That's not motivation, that's momentum dragging you forward. The beauty of this hack is that it lowers the barrier. You don't have to finish, you just have to start. And 9 times out of 10, starting is all you need to keep going. Now, speaking of momentum, let's talk about how to actually make your brain crave getting things done. Hash 9, dopamine anchoring. Why does social media hook you so fast? Dopamine. Every notification, every like, every ping, it lights up your brain. But here's the hack. Instead of letting apps steal your dopamine, anchor it to your work. Pair something you enjoy, your favorite playlist, a special coffee, even the smell of a candle with deep work sessions. Over time, your brain starts linking that good feeling to focus. Suddenly, you want to work. Science shows dopamine fires more from the anticipation of reward than the reward itself. That's why the smell of coffee can hype you up before you even sip it. One entrepreneur I know brewed a fresh cup of espresso only when starting his most important project of the day. Within weeks, his brain linked the two. Espresso meant deep focus. Elite athletes do this with training. Entrepreneurs do it with work. They don't force focus, they condition their brains to crave it. And if that's the case, then why do so many people still run out of energy halfway through the day? The answer is in hash 8. Hash 8, decision batching. Ever notice how you're sharp in the morning, but by mid-afternoon, your brain feels fried? That's decision fatigue. Every choice, what to eat, what to wear, when to check email, burns up mental fuel. The solution? Decision batching. Instead of spreading tiny choices all day, you batch them into one block. Plan meals for the week. Handle email twice a day instead of every 10 minutes. Put all your calls on 1 or 2 days. Steve Jobs wore the same outfit every day. Not for style, but because it freed up brain power for the real decisions. Think of your brain like a phone battery. Without batching, you've got 50 apps draining it at once. With batching, you're running only what matters, and you last all day. And here's the kicker. When you batch decisions, you create white space in your brain, and that's the space that allows big, creative, profitable ideas to emerge. And once you've got that mental space, the next step is to make sure your environment isn't fighting against you. That's where hash 7 comes in. Hash 7, environment engineering. Here's the truth. Willpower is weak, but environment, that's strong. The most productive people don't try to fight distractions, they remove them. Phone in another room. Website blockers to shut down YouTube, TikTok, or Twitter. A desk or workspace that signals this is where focus happens. Your brain ties environments to behaviors. Walk into a gym and your body gets ready to move. Walk into your office and if it's set up right, your brain automatically flips into focus mode. One CEO I worked with had his assistant clear his desk every night. He'd walk into a blank workspace. Instantly his brain knew time to create, not react. And here's the magic. You don't need more discipline when your environment is designed for success. You just show up and the focus switch flips automatically. And once your environment is working for you, the next step is to sync with your brain's natural energy cycles. That's where hash 6 comes in. Hash 6. Ultradian rhythm work blocks. Your brain doesn't run on endless energy, it runs on 90-minute cycles. They're called ultradian rhythms. Push past them and you crash, but work with them and you can sustain hours of deep focus work. Here's the formula. Go hard for 90 minutes, then take a real 15-20 minute break. Step outside, stretch, close your eyes, anything but screens. Top musicians, athletes, even chess champions, they all ride these rhythms. Instead of grinding all day, they perform in powerful waves of focus and recovery. Think of it like surfing. You don't fight the wave, you ride it. And if you've ever wondered why you hit an afternoon slump even with coffee, it's because you're ignoring your brain's natural current. Align with it and your productivity doubles. And if you can ride waves of focus, what happens if you shrink the wave itself? That's exactly what Hash 5 teaches you. Hash 5 Parkinson's Law compression. Ever notice how a task due in 2 weeks takes the full 2 weeks, but when it's due tomorrow you finish in one night? That's Parkinson's Law. Work expands to fill the time you give it. So here's the hack, shrink the time. If you normally give yourself 5 hours, cut it to 2. Watch what happens, your brain gets ruthless. Distractions, gone. Perfectionism, out the window. What matters, done. Short deadlines force clarity, and often they create your best work. One founder I know went from 60-hour work weeks to 35 by cutting every task time limit in half. Same results, less stress, more freedom. But even with deadlines, stress can creep in and kill focus. That's why Hash 4 is so powerful. It's the Navy SEALs' go-to for staying calm under pressure. Hash 4 box breathing for instant calm. Ever been so stressed you couldn't think straight? Navy SEALs face that constantly, and their go-to hack is called box breathing. Here's how it works. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. Do it for a minute and your body resets. Your heart slows, oxygen balances, your brain gets clear again. It's not just calming, it's a productivity weapon. Use it before a big meeting, before diving into deep work, or anytime your mind is spinning. And here's the bonus, regular use trains your nervous system to bounce back faster from stress. Over time, you become unshakable under pressure. Actually, try it right now. Inhale, hold, exhale, hold. Feel that shift. That's focus, coming back. And once your mind is clear, you can do what billionaires do. Take complete control of your calendar. That's Hash 3. Hash 3. Time blocking. Like billionaires, most people drift through the day reacting to emails, calls, interruptions, but billionaires, they design their time. It's called time blocking. Your calendar becomes the boss. Strategy in one block, deep work in another, recovery in another. Every hour has a home. Why does it work? Because not knowing what to do next kills productivity. Time blocking removes the question entirely. You just show up and execute. Think of it like putting lanes on a highway. Traffic flows smooth, no crashes, no wasted energy. And here's the secret. When you see your priorities laid out in blocks, it forces you to ask, do I really want to spend my time this way? That awareness alone is life-changing. And once you're time blocking, you've created the conditions for Hash 2, the state where work feels so good it's addictive. Hash 2, flow state triggers. Ever been so deep in work that hours disappeared? That's flow state, and it's the closest thing to a productivity drug you'll ever find. Here's how to trigger it. Set a clear goal. Pick a challenge that stretches you but doesn't overwhelm you. Cut all distractions. Add music or rituals that signal it's focus time. When you do this, your brain floods you with dopamine and endorphins. It feels amazing, better than scrolling, better than checking notifications. It's why people get hooked on flow. Once you've tasted it, you'll want more. And the more you access it, the easier it becomes to get back into it. But here's the catch. Flow won't last if your identity doesn't support it. And that brings us to Hash 1. Hash 1, identity-based productivity. Here's the deepest hack. You don't rise to your goals, you fall to your identity. If you see yourself as someone trying to be productive, you'll struggle. But if you see yourself as a productive person, your brain will fight to prove that belief true. That's why habits stick when they're tied to identity. Not, I'm trying to wake up early, but I'm the kind of person who starts the day early. Not, I'll try to finish projects, but I'm someone who doesn't leave things undone. When productivity becomes part of your identity, it's automatic. And here's the beauty. Once your identity shifts, every other hack we've covered becomes easier. Because you're no longer forcing yourself, you're just living out who you believe you are. And don't go anywhere. The bonus hack is the piece most people miss. Bonus hack, the shutdown ritual. Most people never shut off. They close their laptop, but their brain stays half working all night. No wonder they wake up tired. The fix is a shutdown ritual. At the end of the day, write down unfinished tasks. Set your top 3 for tomorrow. Then close your laptop with intention. This tells your brain, work's done, rest starts now. You sleep deeper, recharge faster, and wake up clearer. Here's the kicker. This doesn't just protect your evenings, it makes the next day twice as productive because you wake up knowing exactly where to start. This one habit separates high performers from the constantly burned out. Let's bring it full circle. Remember the 2-minute rule at #10. That tiny action creates momentum. Pair it with dopamine anchoring from #9, and suddenly your brain craves work instead of avoiding it. Add decision batching and environment engineering, and distractions disappear. Layer in ultradian work blocks and Parkinson's law compression, and you're doing more in less time than ever before. Use box breathing to stay calm, time blocking to run your day, and flow triggers to make work feel addictive. Then lock it in with an identity shift so productivity isn't something you do, it's who you are. Stack these together and you don't just get more done. You actually change how you think, how you feel, and how you perform. And the best part, these aren't just hacks, they're multipliers. Use even 2 or 3 and you'll notice the difference within days. Stack all 10 and your productivity will feel, well, almost unfair. And don't forget, subscribe to Mr. Career Coach for more unfair advantages. Work smart, stay sharp, and keep tricking your brain into winning.